Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but life has a weird way of throwing bricks at your face when you're not looking. I've been married to Emily, not her real name, for a little over 6 years. We met in college, did the whole survive on ramen and dreams thing together, and eventually built what I thought was a solid, boring in a good way marriage. We both work full-time, no kids yet, no major drama. Or so I thought. For the most part, we've always been a decent team. We argued occasionally, nothing dramatic. She could be pretty impatient and sharp-tongued sometimes, always making me feel like I was a step behind or messing something up. I brushed it off as stress. Work had her tense a lot lately, or so she said. But a few months ago, something started feeling wrong. Not TV drama level wrong, just this subtle vibe that I couldn't shake. It started small. She was suddenly obsessed with her phone, like sleeping with it under her pillow obsessed. She'd get text notifications and flip the screen over instantly. When I'd walk in the room, she'd end calls without even a goodbye, just a hum and then hang up. I'd ask who it was and she'd get annoyed and throw out something like, "Wow, can I have one conversation without being interrogated?" It stung, but I tried to trust her, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? The thing is, gut feelings are loud when the world is quiet, and mine was practically screaming. The real shift happened around the time she started working late. Emily is a graphic designer and deadlines do happen, but she went from normal 95 hours to coming home at 10:30. Sometimes midnight. A couple times she didn't come home at all, claimed she fell asleep at the office couch. When I asked why she didn't at least text me, she snapped back with, "Because I knew you'd freak out. I'm exhausted. Can you not add to it?" Guilt-tripped. Classic. Then there were the random mood swings. One moment she'd be cold and irritated, like I was some stranger messing up her day just by existing. Then she'd suddenly be overly sweet, bringing home my favorite snacks, kissing my cheek out of nowhere. The inconsistency was worse than the distance. Still, I tried to rationalize it. Stress. Maybe burnout. Maybe she was depressed and trying to handle it herself. But then she started guarding her laptop the way a dragon guards treasure. She changed her password. She started taking it to the bathroom with her. In not kidding, she'd shower and the laptop would be on the counter, screen facing away. My friends told me I was overthinking. That's the thing about being a trusting person, you feel crazy for noticing obvious things. But then came the night everything changed. About 2 months ago, Emily said she had to stay late again because her team was crashing on a client crisis. She left around 6 p.m. I ordered takeout, watched a movie, tried to convince myself this was normal married lifestyle. Around 11:45, I was half asleep on the couch when her phone started buzzing on the coffee table. I didn't think much of it until I realized she didn't take it with her. That never happened anymore. I picked it up to bring it to the bedroom so she'd see it when she got home, but the screen lit up with a message preview. Can't stop thinking about earlier. Next time, your place. I just froze. I didn't even open the phone. Just stared at that line burning into my brain. Everything in my body went cold and then hot, like anger and denial were wrestling inside me. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a friend joking, a spam text, but then another message popped up. "You're worth the risk." My heart was pounding so loud it felt like I could hear it echoing in the apartment. The worst part was realizing I didn't even know who this person was. No name, no contact photo, just a number and my imagination filling in every awful blank. She walked in about 20 minutes later, all casual, like nothing in the world was wrong. Hair a little messy, makeup smudged, smelling like cologne that wasn't mine. She saw me holding her phone and instantly stiffened. That was the moment my world tilted. She froze when she saw the phone in my hand. Not scared, just annoyed, like I'd borrowed her charger without asking. I didn't yell. I just held up the screen and said, "Who is this?" She snatched the phone so fast she nearly dropped it. Then came the first lie. "It's just a client. Has gone through a divorce and keeps venting to me. I told you about him." No, she hadn't. "And clients don't usually text you're worth the risk." I said exactly that. She rolled her eyes and went straight into defense mode. "Oh my God, you are so insecure. It's work. I have enough on my plate without you creating drama." Then she stormed off to the bathroom, locked the door, and spent the next 20 minutes in there, probably deleting everything. I sat on the couch staring at the door, feeling like my chest was caving in. Part of me wanted to believe her so badly, because if she was lying, then everything Everything 6 years, every inside joke, every future plan was suddenly fake. When she finally came out, she acted exhausted and put upon like I'd ruined her night. She kissed my forehead, forced a smile, and said, "Please trust me. I married you, didn't I?" It sounded wrong, rehearsed, but I let it go at least on the surface. Part of me was already breaking, and I think she knew it. And that was only the beginning. For a couple of weeks after that confrontation, things went eerily quiet, almost too quiet. Emily started acting overly nice again, packing me lunches, texting me memes during the day, even suggesting we try a new show together. On the surface, it looked like things were getting better, but underneath something felt staged. Her phone was still glued to her. She'd jump if it buzzed. She'd turn away from me to type. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd toss out lines like, "Co-workers. You wouldn't know them. Why are you so obsessed with my phone? Nothing I say will convince you, so just drop it." It was like she wanted me to feel guilty for even noticing. Then came the night she said she had to go out of town for an overnight workshop with her team. Totally last minute. No details, no schedule, just one duffel bag and a rushed goodbye. When I asked which hotel she was staying at, she sighed dramatically and said, "You don't trust me anyway. Why does it matter?" Red flag factory. So, a few hours later, I called one of her co-workers, a friend of ours, and casually asked how the workshop was going. Her exact response, "What workshop?" My stomach dropped. I didn't tell the co-worker anything. Just played dumb, hung up, and sat there staring at the wall. Every instinct in me said she wasn't where she claimed to be. That was the moment I knew I had to find the truth even if it destroyed me. I'm not a naturally suspicious person and I hate snooping, but something inside me snapped that night. If she was lying about where she was, I needed to know how deep this thing went. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked our shared bank account. Right there, plain as day 2 charges from a restaurant in the next city over. Same night, a place we'd never been to, way fancier than anything she'd ever suggested for the two of us. The timestamp lined up exactly with when she said she'd be in meetings. That was my first concrete proof. My hands were shaking. I couldn't even think straight. Half of me was furious. The other half still trying to come up with innocent explanations. Maybe a co-worker paid. Maybe it was a group dinner. Maybe anything but the thing I feared. But to people, to entrees, to drinks, one dessert, my chest felt like it was full of broken glass. I barely slept that night. When she came home the next morning, she looked different. Hair done up, makeup fresh, wearing clothes I'd never seen. She smelled like expensive cologne, not hers, not mine. When I asked how the workshop was, she didn't even blink. Exhausting. We barely slept. I need a shower. And then she kissed my cheek like nothing happened. That moment being lied to with a straight face hurt more than anything up to that point. Because now I knew it wasn't a misunderstanding or paranoia. Something was happening, and she was determined to pretend it wasn't. A few days later, things finally snapped. Emily left her laptop open on the kitchen counter while she went to take a shower. This never happened anymore. It was like the universe finally cracked open a door and said, "Look, I wish I could say I hesitated. I didn't." I clicked on her messages app. Right there, messages from a number saved under a woman's name I didn't recognize. But the conversation wasn't between two women. It was clearly him. They talked in a way that made my stomach twist. "Last night was amazing. He suspects something. You're worth it." Then pictures. Nothing explicit, thankfully, but enough to make the truth hit like a sledgehammer. Them at that same restaurant. Him with his hand on her back. Her smiling in a way I hadn't seen in months. The worst part, she was wearing a necklace I gave her for our anniversary. I shut the laptop and just sat there at the table staring. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just went numb. Like my brain needed a moment to disconnect from reality before it collapsed under the weight of it. When she came out of the shower, she saw me sitting there and instantly went tense, like she already knew something was different. I told her, quiet and straightforward, I saw the messages. Her face changed, not to sadness, not to guilt, more like annoyance, like I had ruined something for her. She crossed her arms and said, "You had no right to go through my stuff." No apology, no explanation, just anger that I found out. And that was the moment I realized she wasn't going to tell the truth unless I dragged it out. When I confronted her, it was like talking to a wall made of sarcasm and half-truths. I told her I saw the messages, the photos, the dates, the restaurant charges, everything. She didn't cry. She didn't look scared. She just scoffed and said, You're overreacting. Nothing happened. Has just a friend. A friend who apparently takes her to fancy restaurants to cities away and whispers about last night. I called her out. Calm, direct. I asked who he was. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck and snapped. Why do you always twist everything? I can't even have friends without you acting like some insecure teenager. Then she tried a different angle. You've been distant lately. Maybe if you were more supportive, I wouldn't need someone to talk to. That one hit like a punch. Because suddenly I wasn't just being lied to, I was being blamed for the lie. She kept deflecting, denying, minimizing. Every question I asked became an accusation against me. You're paranoid. You're imagining things. This is why I don't tell you stuff. It was emotional gymnastics and she was a gold medalist. Finally, I said it straight. Are you cheating on me? She went silent, just stared at me, jaw tight, eyes cold. Then she said, if you already think I am, why are we even talking? And she walked out of the room, not to apologize, not to explain, just walked away. I sat there alone in our kitchen, staring at the door she disappeared through, realizing that the woman I married, my partner, my best friend, had turned into someone I didn't even recognize. And the worst part, a tiny part of me still hoped she'd come back with the truth. After she walked out, we didn't talk for almost a full day. We moved around the house like strangers. No eye contact, no small talk, just silence thick enough to choke on. That night, I told her we needed to have an actual conversation. No deflecting, no sarcasm, no blaming everything on my insecurity. Just honesty. She sat across from me on the couch, arms crossed, jaw clenched. I asked again, quietly, are you seeing someone else? This time, she didn't immediately deny it. She just stared at the floor and said, it's complicated. There it was, the first crack. My heart dropped into my stomach. I asked who he was, how long it had been going on. She said it wasn't serious, that they connected, that he understood her and made her feel appreciated. Every word felt like someone pressing harder on a bruise. I told her she could have talked to me. She could have told me she was unhappy. She could have asked for counseling, a break, anything. Instead, she shut down and found someone else. She started crying then, not because of what she'd done, but because she got caught and didn't know what came next. She said she didn't want to throw away our marriage, that she needed time to think, that she was confused. Confused. I felt like every part of me was being peeled apart. I loved her even in that moment, and that made everything hurt more. She slept in the guest room that night. The house felt too big, too quiet. I didn't sleep at all. Just lay there replaying every moment of our marriage, wondering what was real and what was just acting. And I realized something. No matter how much it hurt, the truth was finally out, and there was no going back to the version of us that existed before. The next few days were a blur. You'd think anger would be the loudest emotion, but it wasn't. It was grief. Heavy, suffocating grief. Like someone died but they were still walking around the house making coffee. Every room felt different. The couch where we binged shows. The kitchen where we'd cook together. Even our bed felt like a crime scene. She kept acting like this was just a rough patch. I was quiet, but she kept trying to have normal conversations, asking if I wanted dinner, if I'd seen her keys, if I remembered to pay the electric bill. Like confessions didn't have consequences. One night I asked her if she was still talking to him. She said, "That's none of your business anymore." That sentence hit harder than any confession. Not I ended it. Not I'm sorry. Just that. Almost like she'd already mentally checked out of our marriage. The next morning, I broke down. Not a dramatic movie scene breakdown, just quietly sat on the floor of the shower and cried until the water turned cold. I felt angry, betrayed, humiliated, scared, but mostly just lost. Because here was the person I gave my loyalty to, the person I trusted more than anyone, and she treated me like I was the inconvenience in her life. I knew then that whatever happened next, staying silent wasn't an option. She couldn't have one foot in our marriage and the other in someone else's bed. I needed a decision. I needed my self-respect back. After days of sleepless nights, crying, and endless replaying of everything, I realized something important. I couldn't keep pretending like I was okay. I couldn't keep waiting for her to figure things out while my life stayed in limbo. I sat her down one evening. No yelling, no dramatic flourishes, just me, staring at her with everything I'd felt bottled up spilling out in my eyes. "Emily, I can't live like this," I said. "You're either committed to this marriage fully, or you're not. I can't share a life with someone who's living a double lie." She scoffed as usual, rolled her eyes, tried to turn it around on me. "You're making this dramatic. I've told you, it's complicated. You don't understand how I feel." I realized then that she wasn't going to apologize. She wasn't going to change overnight. And she certainly wasn't going to magically fix the trust she'd destroyed. So I made the choice clear, firm, painful. I couldn't stay. Not while she was still lying. Not while I was doubting every word, every smile, every gesture of affection. Not while the woman I loved had made someone else her priority. I told her I'd move out temporarily, start the process of separating, and figure out my life without the constant uncertainty and betrayal. She acted shocked like I was the villain. Typical Emily. But deep down, I felt a strange relief. For the first time in weeks, I felt some sense of control returning. Moving out was harder than I imagined. Not just the physical packing, but the mental unpacking of everything she'd done. Our apartment, once a home, felt like a museum of lies, her perfume still lingering on the couch cushions. The wine glasses from her work dinner stacked in the sink, the faint echo of her laugh haunting the hallways. Friends tried to comfort me, but no one could really understand. Some told me to just forgive and move on, others said she's not worth it. Both felt empty. The betrayal had burrowed too deep. Emily, of course, called every day at first, trying to guilt me back. "We can fix this." "I made a mistake. You're overreacting. It wasn't that serious. I miss you." She even sent flowers to my new place. I didn't touch them. Part of me wanted to scream at her, another part just wanted to cry. Then came the "I'm sorry, but you made me do this" phase. Classic Emily. She said I was too distant, too controlling, to blot, to whatever, as if her affair was somehow my fault. Every call, every message, every word she said reminded me why I couldn't go back. It was painful, but it cemented my decision. The person I loved was not the person standing in front of me anymore. After a few weeks, I finally stopped obsessively checking my phone, her social media, and our shared accounts. That constant need to know what she was doing was exhausting and toxic. Slowly, I started reclaiming my life. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected, started exercising again, and even picked up hobbies I'd shelved for the sake of us. It wasn't instant happiness, more like a tentative truce with myself. I allowed myself to feel anger, sadness, and betrayal, but I also started letting myself hope for a future that didn't revolve around her lies. Some nights were hard. I'd catch myself imagining her with him, laughing, living in the world she'd lied to me about. It felt unfair, but I forced myself to remember that wasn't my life anymore. I didn't want to be part of a story where I was the betrayed. And she walked free with zero accountability. A small but important victory came when I realized I could sit in our apartment packing up her stuff for good without breaking down. I could see our memories, our photos, and still feel neutral. No hope, no denial, just clarity. For the first time in months, I felt like I was steering my own ship again. Looking back, this whole experience has been brutal, but I've learned a lot, some lessons I wish I hadn't needed to learn the hard way. Trust is earned, not assumed. I always thought love alone could hold a marriage together, but that's not true. Respect and honesty matter just as much, if not more. Gut instincts are real. That nagging feeling I tried to ignore in the beginning, it was right. Don't silence it for the sake of comfort. People rarely change overnight. I kept hoping Emily would just admit it and repent. Some people can't or won't take that step. Self-respect is non-negotiable. Staying in the marriage for fear of being alone or feeling guilty would have destroyed me. Walking away was the hardest and yet the healthiest thing I could do. Life goes on. It hurts like hell now, but it will pass. It won't feel normal immediately, but little by little, things start to make sense again. I've also realized that betrayal isn't just about the affair itself, it's about the way someone makes you feel small, paranoid, or worthless. And that's something you don't have to tolerate. I'll stop there. Subscribe to this channel and press the like button. And I wish everyone a good day. It's been several months since I officially separated from Emily. I moved into a smaller apartment, started therapy and focused on rebuilding my life on my terms. Some days are still rough, memories pop up. Moments of doubt creep in, but I've learned to face them instead of running from them. I won't lie. I loved her, and part of me still does in that stubborn, aching way. But love isn't enough when it's built on lies and betrayal. Trust is like glass once shattered, it can never be the same. I realized I deserved more than secrecy, half-truths, and emotional manipulation. If there's one piece of advice I'd give to anyone in a similar situation, it's this. Pay attention to the little signs, trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to walk away. Staying because of history, guilt, or fear will only prolong the pain. Your self-respect is worth more than any lie someone else tells. I don't know what the future holds, love, friendship, or even just peace, but I do know I'm reclaiming my life, one day at a time. And for the first time in a long while, that feels like enough. I'll stop there. Subscribe to this channel and press the like button. And I wish everyone a good day.